Welcome, people. Welcome to the Artist Exchange radio show here live only on BeExposedRadio.com. I was trying to go through all my shows and see how many times I've actually said that, but I made my intern do that so we can have a number. But I am really excited. We have a special guest today, and possibly like a little extra special guest today. But I'm really today has been interesting. One, I'm a spring baby, so this frigid weather, I'm not for this. I want sunshine and maybe a little rain, but this blizzard-like weather structure we have here is not what I'm feeling, and it's bringing me down. I see the sun, but I can't feel the sun, and that's that's doing something to me. But um, just jumping in there today. Uh, ooh, can you hear me, Monty?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So today we just going to introduce Mr. Archie Williams. I've been sleeping on him for a minute now. I've been supposed to have him on years ago, and we finally got him on here in April 2021 in the midst of a pandemic. And look at that, the superstar Tyrone trying to sneak on the camera. Always still in the limelight. Always still in the limelight.
Oh my goodness, you got me. There. No, you got me. He got you.
Yeah.
How you doing, Mr. Archie?
Oh, I'm doing along fine, Mr. Nate. You know,
for all of my supporters out there, Archie is an actor. He's the king of dad jokes, and just an interesting guy. I've gotten to work with him on a couple plays, and like I keep forgetting about that web
El
series.
Presidente.
Very weird series, but it was fun, interesting. I hope it never shows. My episode never shows, because then you'll see the fact that I was busting out the costume that they had for obviously a child. They tried to squeeze me in it. It made me look muscular though, so I can't complain. I was very muscular that day. But how you been doing, sir?
Oh, well, you know, just trying to survive these COVID streets out here. I got my second shot on the 31st, so I'm fully vaccinated, you know. And
I'm still a little. I'm gonna wait a little bit until enough of y'all have test run it, and then I'm gonna jump right in there.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm used to being a lab rat, so you know, so far so good, you know. 2 days after the shot, and not feeling any ill effects as of yet. So, you know, just knock on wood.
I've been trying to not catch withdrawal from being on stage. The last thing I did was Pearly last year, like this time last year, and then I did a project with Troy like towards the end of last year. But I haven't done anything else besides that. So I'm trying to figure out some way to be creative outside of doing virtual shows. Have you been able to work creative?
Yeah, actually, last June I worked on this project for Juneteenth. It was the Magic City Massacre about about Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And Rain Pryor was one of the other folks involved, along with some local talent. And we had, it was a Zoom deal.
Okay.
And we had folks from New York, Massachusetts, California, right here in Baltimore, put this project together. As far as filming is concerned, the last thing I worked on as far as film was December for this new film that's going to be coming out from Love Star Entertainment called Navigate. And I played one of the main characters' fathers. And it was a quick in and out, but, you know, I got in front of the camera. I must say that any long involved projects were at the beginning of last year.
Yeah.
And February of 2020, we were invited to the Bill Johnson Black Film Festival up in Gary, Indiana, for a film called The Unwilling, also from Love Star. And that was a nice trip, and that was the last time I went out of town for anything.
How have you been able to deal with it? Because I know, especially like you and I see Tyrone off to the side a little bit, but I know you're used to working. And how was it to have to, you know, especially doing everything virtually now? Was that difficult, or how have you been able to ease into it?
Let me tell you about difficulty for that Magic City Massacre. It rained cats and dogs the day that the filming was to take place, the Zoom deal. And I was outside on a friend of mine's front porch to get the good lighting. Well, a thunderstorm took care of that. Knocked out my signal. I'm scrambling. I'm crazy about technology any daggone way. But I was.
Unmute yourself.
Was able to get back into the meeting when my line came up, you know, and it was, yeah, I'm going downtown, you know, that kind of thing. It was really.
That seems to have been the norm, but thankfully, a lot of people that have been watching these things, they've been very forgiving, because I know many actors who don't even want to do the virtual anymore. They just waiting for things to open back up, because they're trying to match technology up with rhythm and beats, and it's just not.
It's just not happening. And, you know, yes, I miss the stage. I miss it. I miss being in front of the cameras. I did, however, you know, channel that energy into other things. And writing was one of those. I wrote a play for the Variations Project on Vision for this year. And it was selected. It was called Recipe for the Future. And I was one of the nominees for Best Script of the Decade for BroadwayWorld.com. And
shout out to Broadway World, giving us Black actors some shine.
Oh, yeah. And as they say, it was a pleasure to be nominated, but I didn't win. But hey, you know, I made it in the gate. Along with, several.
I mean, don't forget, I need somebody to write me something. So don't forget about me when y'all get big, and just playwright.
Oh no, man! I always keep folks on the skull there, you know, for like certain parts and that sort of thing. You know, I mean,
will you be writing more plays or full-length plays?
Got a few things in the works and some that I'm going to revisit. You know, there's always that project that you never finish, and that you have to refresh. So you know,
you have other plays. I didn't know that you wrote plays as well.
Oh yeah, and my writing partner over here, Mr. Chapman.
Batman.
Yeah, we've done several projects together,
And I
and
have not gotten one call. That's what I was alluding to. I
hell,
have not gotten air X email or snail mail or anything. I'm
see
just saying.
that is due to the fact that we just wrote it. We did not do the casting, and you know when
Mm,
when you're a minion amongst the big fish in the pond, you
uh-huh.
know, you feel grateful that they took your script and you're like, oh wow,
Has
so
variation? So you wrote it for this year's variation, or was that
yeah,
last year's variation? Okay,
2020 for
okay, okay,
2020's variations. Yeah,
okay.
and it was a tale about a white grandmother and grandson. The grandmother went to the World's Fair and she
Mm.
entered her recipe for the future. And a representative from the future comes to their house that afternoon to discuss her recipe for the future, and
Hmm.
comedy ensues. Yeah.
Have you gotten? I mean, because you're normally busy, have you gotten more time to watch more movies and
Oh
TV
yeah,
shows?
yes. Matter of fact, watched one night in Miami
Mm.
a few days ago, and excellent film. Regina King is just coming to her own. I mean,
Hmm.
she's a new force to be reckoned with
Right.
as far as directing and acting and all of those type things are concerned. You know,
It's
and
interesting watch her transition from being an actor to maybe directing a couple episodes of a TV series she into now a full length
mhm.
movie.
Oh yeah, yeah, and she's humble about the whole process, which
Hmm.
is a plus card for any of us out here trying to achieve stardom nowadays. You know,
Right, right.
and my wife, Penny Demps,
Penny Dimps.
yeah, Penny, Miss Penny, my sweetie, my other half. You know, we met um, doing Comeback Little Sheba in
Wow.
2003, and we've been together ever since. So you know,
Causing all types of crazy in the city.
yeah, that's exactly right. Can't sit still. Gotta
If
keep
you
it
had to
moving.
choose, if you had to choose between theater or film, which one would you choose?
Ooh, I would go with film.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I would go with film because film, if you blow a line, you don't have to think on your feet. They just say cut,
Right, right, right.
do it again. You know,
That's
but
I think that's why I love theater because you are forced to just keep it moving. If Amini Courts ever taught me anything, it's just to keep it moving and just keep
oh,
it moving, basically.
she she taught me so much. Her wealth of knowledge was insurmountable because she helped to shape my characters,
Mm,
and to go back and bring some of her lessons to the screen, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
along with the late great Sam Wilson
Mm,
and even Ed Terry. You know,
okay.
learned a lot of lessons from the arena players.
How
That
long have
is
you
for
been a
sure.
member of the Arena Players?
Well, let's see, over 40.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Were you active before you got there, or were you just introduced and that's what
Yes,
started?
I was with the Free Spirit Theater,
Okay.
run by Dr. Percy Thomas back in the day. he's now over in Silver Spring with it was the Heralds of Hope, and now what's their new name?
I think it's American Theater or something like that.
American? No.
Magical Theater?
Magical Theater, that's it. The Magical Theater.
Oh, okay.
And they did have the old Roundhouse Theater. I think they're getting ready to change locations. But and that's another person that I learned a lot from, Dr. Percy Thomas, and he afforded me the chance to go to New York back in the day with Blues for Mr. Charlie, and had the opportunity to meet James Baldwin.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Are you? I mean, in terms of all the time that you spent in theater, what's kept you in it? Because it's not financially, it's not always as lucrative. But I guess that's why you do films and theater. But what keeps you motivated, or what keeps you interested in it?
Well, the motivation is you gotta love it. First of all, you have to love the art. You have to love being able to create a character, to make the audience feel that, who is this person?
Right.
Why are they telling me this story? Why should I be invested in this person? And by doing that, I can bring joy to some people, and it's a hard job, but you gotta love it. You gotta be able to be disciplined enough to put on that face, to be able to get into that character. It's kind of like if I was to like be, I don't know, a chimp, a monkey. I want those people to know that I am that monkey. I want them to believe that I am that monkey until I leave that stage.
Right. Are there any roles that you wish you could do again, or is this something that you haven't done that you want to do?
Well, speaking of, I wouldn't mind revisiting Joe Turner's Come and Gone and doing Harold Loomis one more time. I've done him twice. The first time was at the Arena Players. The second time was at the Vagabonds. And, I wouldn't mind doing him a third time. I'd probably have to have an oxygen tank off stage because Harold's a busy guy.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind being Citizen Barlow in Jimmy the Ocean.
Well, speaking of August Wilson, please, we see that Denzel Washington has fought and pushed to have them put into this new format of film. What did you think of the first two movies?
Well, Fences, I thought was done rather well. I have Ma Rainey's Black Bottom at home. I haven't watched it yet, so I can't give a trustworthy opinion, and nor would I want to until I've seen the product.
What I like about it, the only thing that they changed in Ma Rainey is instead of it being the winter time, it's the summertime. But I like the fact that he hasn't really changed the script. If you know the monologues, if you know the dialogue, you're going to be talking along with it because he hasn't, cut anything or changed. That was the biggest change that I saw. He made it summertime instead of the winter.
Yeah, well, I noticed that from some of the clips that I have seen that the dialogue was straightforward. I was like, oh, I remember that line. But and then I think about the actors who have played certain parts because the first time I did it, I was slow drag. And then the next time I did it, I was Toledo.
Okay.
Yeah. And Toledo, that's a mouthful.
They say piano lesson is next with Samuel Jackson and Danielle Brooks from Orange is the New Black.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is Samo gonna be doing Charles Dutton's role? Is that?
Yeah, and I was curious, maybe because Charles Dutton got a little bit older, but he doesn't look any much older than what he always looked. So I was interested why they didn't ask him to do it since he did like the TV version of it already. But maybe he's not in their circle.
Hey, that's quite a distinct possibility, And,
out of the rest of the cycle of plays, do you think which one would you want to do?
Oh man, I had a blast with King Hedley.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one people haven't seen a lot. That's one of the ones people haven't seen a lot. That one and Seven Guitars.
Yeah.
I think those two are the least seen ones out of his whole run.
Yeah. Seven Guitars. That was a blast too, man. I had a good time with that.
That's the one that's a little bit more livelier. It has a little, controversy in it, but it's more so. I think that's one of the livelier ones. So I can't wait to see how he does that one.
Yeah, especially that rooster scene. See this rooster?
With dick stuck in your woman. Like I do enjoy that. Is it so looking at that whole series of plays, how would you have cast it, or was the casting for the first two what you would like, or did you like the casting for the first two that they did?
Well, I did the casting that he had for the first two shows, first two movies. It was pretty much spot on, and I'm sure that Mr. Washington did his research and had his auditions. Whilst he may have had some folks, in the back of his head because some of the supporting actors were known for their Broadway chops. So he relied on that pool of actors to get the best performance out of everybody.
I just don't want to see. I don't want to see the same. Like I want him to retire Viola Davis now and let another actress come in. But I want to see faces that we wouldn't normally see. I know he's gonna have to bring some star power in just to balance it out. But I do want to see some new faces.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the whole deal. I mean, you look at Andrea Day. Now she's a new face, and even though I haven't seen that whole movie, the clips of her as Billie Holiday, I mean, she's killing it.
For that to be, I mean, I don't know what she did in high school or possibly college or something, but she not only did she sound like her, because we remember Audra McDonald did it on Broadway,
right.
And everybody loves Dinah Ross's version of it, but in terms of acting, she did a phenomenal. Not only did she have the command of the voice and the songs, but she was phenomenal. And it's one of the reasons I love working with new actors. I love working with new actors for that reason, because they don't have a lot of hangups or bad habits that veteran actors often have. But she was phenomenal in that. When you see it, I know you're gonna love it. And she had a great supporting cast as well.
Yeah, and it looks like she's up for an Oscar. So
hey. It's gonna be well deserved. Well deserved. Yeah. I think she did as good a job as Monique did in Precious. For that to be like her breakout role, she did just as good, if not better. Like she really, and it's more when you're doing stuff with music in it, it can get a little, run down a little bit, a little,
Right.
done. Especially being as though two big people have done that role already. It was, and I think the fact that Susie Lloyd Parks wrote that screenplay, I think added to it.
Yeah.
So that it was shocking to me that she was writing movies now. So,
Yeah, well, just like you gotta have a couple of hats in your artillery to to make it nowadays, And like I said, doing the writing, acting, I just can't get away from. That's been my bread and butter, and I'm grateful for the opportunities that have been afforded me, and hopefully, more opportunities to come.
Right. Can you? Because for me, I just never. I've done a couple school films like for student directors, but can you tell us how would we get into doing films?
Okay,
Because the
well,
business is a little tight, but there's so many possibilities now.
yes, well, with the advent of all the possibilities that have been made available, particularly in the past 5 years. I mean, you look at the YouTube community, you look at the Hulu,
The streaming networks there.
Zoom, all of that streaming. Oh my God. I mean, you can find anything on a streaming network from, how to make chocolate chip cookies from Romania, whatever the
you want.
subject is, there's an outlet for it. And what gets you noticed is your unique approach to the subject matter. And there's a guy. Have you ever seen New Scandinavian Cooking on PBS?
No, I haven't seen that one.
This guy, he goes out and he puts together a meal in the middle of a field, and he's got an outdoor kitchen, and he'll chop up his vegetables and chop up the fish and reach down and pick up some herbs and throw it on a plate and go, that is so delicious.
I love the fact, because I'm a YouTube addict, so I like the fact that all you need is a camera now. I think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna really mess up the important serious actors, but it's giving a lot of people who we wouldn't normally see an opportunity to kind of rise to the top a little bit and get that talent.
That's exactly right, and you can be a YouTube sensation before even thinking about becoming a network sensation.
Right.
And when they reach out to you, Issa Rae is a prime example.
Yep.
And Lily
I think she started out just blogging, and then it went into a YouTube and a web series, and then now I think she got an 8-figure deal with a few streaming networks. So
And the same thing with Lily Singh. She started out on YouTube. Now she's got her own late night show. Late night show.
Yeah.
So and then we've got Nate right here. He's been doing his podcast.
Waiting on the check, sir. That's all I'm waiting on.
Somebody's gonna see you and say, let's make him pop large. Let's
if y'all write me into a play. Y'all gotta write something for me. That's what I'm saying. Okay. I gotta be seen in all different, advertising. They need to see you at least 8 different platforms. So you gotta put me in something. You gotta put these acting jobs together. I'm getting a little rusty this year.
Well, don't rust out on us, all right?
It's, in terms of everything that you've been getting to watch now, what's some of your favorite shows that you've been finding or
Man, well,
discovering?
my taste is rather eclectic, but I lean towards the like Lovecraft country. That was killer, you know.
I want so bad for that to come back for another season. I need it was a lot at one time, and I just want more. I want more of it.
Yeah, that and American Gods. That was another one that you know I enjoyed. And Stranger Things.
Okay.
Clarice, that's on CBS right now. That's you know, to delve into the whole Buffalo Bill story from Silence of the Lambs. That's an interesting take. And
are you liking these spin-offs or remakes that's coming up?
Well, I like it's like a remix. You know, I think that they've borrowed from our culture once again and put a remix on a story, you know, and brought it out fresh, you know, from a different perspective, you know. And right now we're in the cycle of the 90s.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, it was the 80s. And 10 years before that, it was the 70s, because all those generations are getting older now. So they're starting to revisit these stories. Now, what I don't care for is some of the remixes of the movies. I mean, how many times can you see Pet Sematary?
Yeah.
How many times can they revisit Jaws?
I like when they do something that is totally unexpected, but keep the essence of the story. When they go totally left field with it and just create a whole nother something, I don't like. I'm still on the fence with Coming to America too. You don't want to hate it because you love the first one so much, but sometimes you just need to leave well enough alone, or it was just too much time had passed and they forgot what happened.
Well, it's like 33 years between part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
And the guys in the barbershop still look like they're about the same age.
Right, exactly. I was about to say he done got a little thicker, so all of them got a little thicker, but other than that, but you know, that's the essence of, like, I want the storyline to still be there, but you can do something different with it, because you know the thing now is, like, they didn't come into America. It was all of these cameos. Like, it was too much for me. It took away from, because we didn't know most of the people that was in the first one. It was a couple names that we knew from other stuff, but now it was back to back. Gladys Knight, SWV, Invoke, like, it was Salt and Pepper, like, it was too many different like cameos.
Well, he brought, you know, he had the power to bring the people to the table. And you know, I understand Wesley Snipes did a killer job with his character.
He was really good. Like, he surprises me. I wonder why he hasn't done more comedies before.
Yeah, well, you know, Wesley was always that serious get down brother. You know, except for Major League. Yeah, that was kind of a comedic role that he had in that, you know, but that was a while back. Then you got to consider that he had some financial problems, which kept him out of the loop for a little bit, you know. And
but he came back though. Like, that was still. I want to see him do more comedy. He was really good in that. He was really good. You can tell, you know, he's a good actor, but he did a really good job in that. he really stole the show a lot. A lot of the scenes he was in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And you know, you got to do what you got to do in order to survive in this game, you know.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to do my level best to keep my head above water and stay in the game.
So can you tell us a little bit about the business of being an actor, like joining, getting into the union or qualifying for the union and being in the union? Like what, at a time like this, how beneficial was it to be a union actor?
Well, at a time like this, it really hasn't been much of an advantage because a lot of projects, just scrolling through Facebook, a lot of productions were like looking for non-union people specifically, you know, and not even for like any like union folks on the back end. All of the projects that I've done recently have finally come to fruition. Hustle the series, if you've seen that, it's on Vimeo and Eximo and Tubi TV and Roku. It's finally come through, and as they say, the check is in the mail. Yeah,
always a great thing, especially if it clears.
Oh yeah, always. And you know, I really want to give a shout out to April Smith and Antonio Jefferson. Those are the two folks behind Love Star Entertainment, and I appreciate our friendship and him noticing my talent and putting me in a goodly amount of his projects. You know,
how important is that maintaining of a relationship and being an actor?
It's very important. I mean, you can ask Rob Schneider about Adam Sandler. I mean, Rob Schneider has wound up in a bunch of his films. Same thing with Chris Rock, Kevin James. All of these guys, Adam Sandler would bring them together for his films that he's had on Netflix and Hulu and everywhere else. And trying the same formula. If a director likes what you're doing and signs you up and you have a good rapport, then yeah, you can keep coming back and doing projects, and then other folks catch on to your talent, and they'll use you in their platforms and everything. You know, use you in their.
I've always wondered because going into film is a lot different. For me, it was a lot different than trying to, just stick to theater. I think but I'm seeing now that the community is just as small as the theater world, because once you get this job, then that can get you another job. But a lot of people feel like they can just do it without any effort or any work. Can you speak to the level of preparation you need?
There is plenty of preparation that has to be done before you set foot on a stage or get in front of a camera.
Right.
It's not just coming off the street and, wind up in Beverly Hills or wind up in Broadway. You got to put in the work. If you don't put in the work, you won't get it. It just won't happen. Plus, like I said, you gotta have a love for it. If you don't have a love for it first, before you think about the business end, then you're just treading water, and eventually you're gonna drown. I think about a conversation that I had with some of the young guys that were on The Wire from the fourth season when they had followed the group of kids around. And all of those young brothers, they were actors. They were legitimate actors. Mm-hmm. And they acted like Baltimore thugs. That was their job. And they pulled it off. But like off camera, you know, I was saying, well, like, where are you from? Well, I'm from Connecticut. Yeah. And, well,
or England. A lot of them was from Europe.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everywhere but Baltimore. As a matter of fact, I think Robert Hughes, God bless his soul, he was about the only main character on there that was from Baltimore.
Right.
And he taught Idris Elba and some of the other actors how to speak Baltimoreese. So, you know.
I hope he got some producer credit for that.
No, I don't think they gave him any producer cheddar, you know.
They're talking about bringing that series back. Should that be one of the stipulations for bringing it to the city, that they need to hire Baltimore?
Yeah, hire local. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like other states and that hire. That's one of the stipulations, that they got to hire at least half, and not just on the extra side, but because everybody got an extra credit from The Wire or Homicide. But I feel like it should be a stipulation. If they go get tax credits or certain waivers to do filming here, then they should be hiring here as well. Do you agree with them bringing it back, though?
Hey, if they want to bring it back, fine. just let me have a shot at being a district commander that's got some lines and shows up. If not every week, maybe once every 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? I'm not.
But they have a lot of, especially if it's they go make sure it's Baltimore based. They have a lot to go by. We done went through like 3 mayors that were corrupt, and a number of people who have been fired and hired and refired. You know, they have a lot of fodder. This would be a perfect time for them to start back up.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know how too many of those politicians go feel, but
well, you know, we know how O'Malley felt, because he was the one that cut the budget. Quiet as it's kept, you know.
Right.
And
that was that. I mean, he was one of the only ones that they picked on a little bit, other than like the police chief and stuff like that. But it's too many people now, from the Mosbys on down the line. Like, they all go get it.
Yeah, well, as far as the Mosbys are concerned, I think they're being picked upon. You know, I'm just saying, you know, because they've been trying to go after them for like the past 2 years now.
I think longer than that. Since she first got in 2015, they've been coming after her.
Yeah, and she, you know, she's a friend of mine. I'm just saying. And you know, her and Nick, they've been trying to do their level best to keep it above board, you know.
Yeah.
Now, as far as some of the other folks are concerned, I mean, Miss Pugh is down there chilling in Alabama right now, you know, and
making license plates.
Yeah, making license plates and doilies and all that sort of thing. And Miss Dixon, you know, she's had her issues, but I mean, let's face it, when it comes to politicians and particularly politicians of color, we just have to look back to a gentleman by the name of Tommy Broadwater. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he was caught up in a scandal back in the 70s over welfare fraud. $70,000 worth. You know,
Mm.
now here it is, 2021, and we still under the microscope.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do dirt, you have to have the right qualifications. You know what I'm saying?
And the right
Yeah.
complexion.
Yes, that's right.
Can't do it the way they do it.
No. Because if Donald Trump had a couple of drops of our blood in his system, he wouldn't be down in Mar-a-Lago.
He wouldn't have got into that White House.
No, he sure wouldn't have. Hey, for real. You know.
Yeah.
So yes, we definitely have to make strides in our community to keep nefarious activities out of our system in order to get our people more ahead than what we are right now. Because I mean, the climate has changed so much in this country,
right?
Particularly with 2020. There are more eyes on us.
Yeah.
And with that heightened vision of how our culture has been treated, it has lowered some of the aggravation in some areas. In some areas. Now, January 6th, things just went off the chain, you know. And today, I just heard that a guy tried to charge into the Capitol, and he got out of his car with a knife, and he brought a knife to a gunfight, and he was cut down, and he took an officer out. So you know, there are those folks that will just not understand that you and I and all of us get up the same way every morning, just like you do, and head out to a job or head out to be with our families, just like you do, and want respect, want to be acknowledged.
I just don't think that that's. It's easy to say that, but I think a lot of them know that. It's just they've wanted it their way for so long. That the fact that things are being forced in another direction is
there. They can't, you know, they can't handle it.
For example, we have a new Black Arts District popping up, and I'm excited for it because it's going to refurbish that whole Pennsylvania Avenue corridor that used to be Black arts and Black entertainment in the city. But I'm afraid of how the other arts districts are going to treat that, or how, you know, because that's supposed to have been happening. Back when Magic Johnson came back to the city, he wanted to help that, and the O'Malleys decided, no, take your money and bring it over here. That's why he never really. He was supposed to bring one of his movie theaters here,
right?
And because they wanted to take that money and put it into one of the more established arts districts or avenues.
Money gets rerouted around us all the daggone time.
How do you feel about the Black Arts District?
Oh, that sounds like a very good idea. I've seen some talk about it, and I think that you know, like the site where the Royal Theater is, it would be nice to have an actual physical Royal Theater once again. You know, for stage shows, for comedians, for opera, whatever. You know, bring some show enough needed input to the community. You know, have them see somebody that's doing something positive in their lives, and hope that it'll rub off on them. And I've noticed that a lot of our folks have been having programs to like open up people's eyes to different opportunities besides being, intersection entrepreneurs and impromptu doormen at the gas station. It's
Right. It's crazy because I remember I went to that school right there, that where the Royal Theater was tore down from, and I just remember hearing so much about that area, and we had to do tons of Black History reports, but to see it actually, in the working right now, they're like in the planning phase of it right now, but I would love to be alive and see that happen and see that area totally. It needs to be rehabbed because it's gone down to nothing at this point.
Yes, well, that's my neighborhood, and
Harville
they're
Avenue.
they're working around in my area, as a matter of fact, redoing houses and trying to bring it back to life. The block that I live in used to be homes for doctors, lawyers, teachers back in the 50s. When the 68 riots came along, it was just like time stopped like that. And there's been no forward progress, and most of that is political.
Some and it's done by design. It's done by design.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's all done by design. Freeways are done by design. They always go through Black neighborhood.
Yeah.
Sewer systems are designed that way. They always go through the Black neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle that needs to be broken. And we as a people, and I don't like jumping up on a soapbox so much, but we got to stop feeling sorry for ourselves, have a little more faith in us, a little more trust in each other to forward our situation.
What responsibility do you think the Black artists of this city have to keeping that stuff from being gentrified? Or gentrification isn't necessarily the problem. It's just what happens to the displaced people as a result of gentrification. So how do you think artists can continue to help or support the cause?
Well, the easiest way for artists to support a cause is to survey the community, first of all, and see what is needed in that area, be it housing, a grocery store, community medical center that's helps beyond methadone,
and I'm in Charles Village, so I see it's nothing but them.
Just it's community services, like I said, community grocery stores, education towards a better diet, education towards a better lifestyle, education towards a better environment, use a trash can instead of the street. They're trying to get rid of plastic bags, and I can understand that it's a double-edged sword, but nothing is more depressing than seeing a plastic bag that's like been chucked out on the sidewalk and it's full of dirty diapers and cat food. That kind of thing. That's got to stop. We have to take some pride in ourselves. We have to take pride in our communities, in order for us to achieve and be better citizens, we have to first have pride in ourselves, pride, and not be interested in cutting anybody down, be civil, but still have a backbone.
Right.
Be kind, but don't take anything that comes on your plate that you don't want.
Right.
Speak up.
And one of how I actually met you was you doing work both at Coppin for Meany and at Arena Players, and I think part of the responsibility is making sure we stay a part of those things, even if we have to do work over here to supplement us being able to work there, continue to do the work and keep those places open and going, so they're not just something we did when we were younger or something we did a long time ago. Because I've watched, growing up in this city, I've watched this city grow in the arts community, and these people are working. Now Howard Street is turning into another. It actually is a new art district now. It's the Bromo Arts District. And watching these artists from other cities come here, go to Micah, go to Towson, and then create roots here, and then they have establishments here, and we still are struggling to get the one or two places that we have, up and running. It's no reason that, Arena Players isn't bigger, and Woundwork shouldn't still be in the basement of a church. They should have their own facility at this point. But yet these people can come here after 2 years or so and build their own theater spaces.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody leaves Baltimore, and some of them don't come back. And if all the folks, all you folks that left Baltimore, come on back. Give something back to us. You spread it all over the world. Come on home. Show us some love.
Right.
That's what we need.
And not just when controversy happened, not when Freddie Gray get killed or something, but throughout the year.
Yes. A continued resource of supplies.
Right.
Continued resource of input, education, things to build us up. Make Baltimore big again.
I said after going into 8 years of doing this, I didn't want to, of course I'm going to bring in artists from all over the world as I've been interviewing, but I said, even going into this year, I wanted to make sure all the artists that I've known that I'm able to call up and ask to come on the show, I want to begin to spotlight them in any way that I can for you all, because I've seen what support was. And I've also seen the support system kind of fall apart and try to get back together, and then cliques begin to form. But I want, it's too many talented people in the city that's still here for us not to have a bigger piece of the pie and not be able to compete on that level, with a lot of the white or non-Black organizations that are popping up.
Yes, well, I thank you for shining the spotlight on my little face. I appreciate you 1,000%.
And I have to say, I've been meaning to bring you on, but at some point it became a drag to do this, because we need that support. I can't lie and say I can do this all by myself. But at some point, I was calling it in, just phoning it in at times, because, I just watched the city change. And I'd never known this city to be so super Black, but it has been.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
there's been pockets of time where we've shined. And I don't want us to keep going through this cycle where they let one of us into the cycle and then that becomes the it person, you know,
Yeah.
and then they transition that person out and then we get another person that's the it person. But it's room
Yeah.
for all of us to shine.
Yeah, and you know, you look at the like Jada Pinkett Smith. There's an example. I mean, she came back and did Charm City. Was that it? Yeah, just Charm City. About the dirt bike folks. That was
Oh, wasn't it her son? I thought that
yeah,
was her son.
one of the yeah, well, she was one of the executive producers.
Okay,
Brother,
I didn't know that.
her brother. Yeah.
Okay.
Her brother, yeah, but she was one of the executive producers on that. Then you got Harold Rollins. You know, he was from here. And Charles Dutton is another one.
Monique.
Yeah, Monique. Yeah, Monique. God bless her. She had a comedy club, and that was a nice outlet for people. I went there a couple of times and saw some shows and saw a couple of friends perform there. You know, she was cranking it. That's when she was getting ready to do the Parkers before she left town. Yeah, and
this
you
would be a
gotta
perfect
go.
time to start that back up because we have a huge comic community growing now in the city.
Yeah, it's growing in the outlets like Magoobies.
Yeah,
Out out the way, but nothing in town. That's something that could possibly fly along the Pennsylvania Avenue corridor. You know, get a nice venue going like that. You know, prior to the Royal coming back. You know that. You know.
I wonder would it be in the same location though because it's a whole.
Yeah, it's a whole like you said, school there and everything. They would probably do something with Shake and Bake. Probably tear that down and redo it, you know. Simply because it's a commercial spot already, you know.
Right.
There's 1,000 different choices that can be made.
I just can't wait to see what that corridor will look like, and then subsequently the neighborhood that surrounds it. Because when I last lived there, I grew up on Argo Avenue, and so I watched that neighborhood slowly like turn into vacant buildings, and now when you drive through there, most of it is vacant, or if it's not even there, it's just a clear field now.
Yeah. Well, see, that's how they do. They wait for the dust to settle, you know, and like prior to our current mayor, Mr. Brandon, the Mayor Pugh had started in on having some of these buildings either renovated or torn down. As I noticed, like on Edmondson Avenue, they've torn down half the block on one side.
Yeah,
and
that's how Park Heights look too. Park Heights is
Park
almost
Heights
leveled.
Yeah, Park Heights is like somebody's mouth before they put their dentures in. It's just gaps all over the place.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. You know, and hey, you know, it's life in America, Nate.
Yeah.
Microcosm, life in Baltimore, you know. And
how do you think, in terms of art in this city, how do you think this pandemic is going to affect us moving forward? Or will it affect us? Or will it jumpstart?
I mean,
how do you think it's going to change?
You can look right to the Baltimore Museum of Art for that. they are starting to open back up, but it's 8 people at a time for half an hour to see everything in the museum.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So you gotta get in there, look at ooh, next. You know. So I can say that that's probably going to be the mode of entertainment with that setup for at least maybe 2-3 months. And if everybody goes about the business of being masked up, getting their vaccinations, doing the right things, then perhaps it could expand to a group of 16 or a group of 24. And instead of a half an hour, you got 45 minutes or whatever, until probably the beginning of next year. I think the beginning of next year, we should be open all the way up for full recovery.
It was just weird. I worked on a real nigga show, so it was surreal in how Troy and the crew and cast, we had to kind of adapt to. We did one special night with audience, and it was like 17 people that we were allowed to bring in, and it was the weirdest thing possible for a show that comes back every 5 years or so and sells out a weekend or two. And then doing everything virtual. It was a weird thing, and I had never did crew for a film before, but it was a very interesting perspective.
Oh,
and
yeah.
even in the beginning, well, kind of like the summertime of last year, I started doing readings virtually. So I was trying to figure out ways to creatively keep theater alive for myself, and still feel some type of normalcy. But do you think this virtual world will be incorporated into our arts moving forward? Like, will this be?
Most assuredly so. Because, for one thing, it's financially sound for producers on one end, because they could say, well, we want Samuel Jackson in on this project, and maybe we can give him half of what we wanted to pay him if he stays where he is, and we bring him in on Zoom.
Yeah. I've been thinking about that also, because then that becomes the other side of the coin, like how people get paid.
And in the corporate world, I mean, these folks have had a real awakening. It's like, we don't have to send Bill to Cleveland now. He can just watch him on his phone and stay at home in his undershorts and just put on a shirt. Do the meetings from home. Their expense accounts like shrank. It's just like now gas prices are going back up because people are traveling around more. I mean, last year with Penny going to the Safeway, I had enough coupon points at Safeway
that you could buy a gallon of gas.
I could buy a gallon of gas. I paid, no joke, 97 cents for a gallon of gas last year with the coupons, And I took a picture of that. I said, I got to get a snapshot of this,
Put it in a frame, because that ain't going to happen.
No, it is not going to happen. Because
it's been interesting, though. It's been an interesting journey to see how people have adapted to this and to see how it affected people at the same time.
It's been a wild journey, and personally, I've lost a couple of friends along the way to COVID, and coming up on a year anniversary of one of my coworkers who had a bad back, went into the hospital. Then from the hospital went to a rehab, and while they were in rehab, they caught the virus, and they called me one day, and 9 days later, they were gone. And it is nothing to be played with, and should seriously be taken serious.
Yeah. And
And
that's why I watch a lot of these art organizations stop trying to rush back. I know a lot of people have put a lot of faith into just getting tested and now getting a vaccine, and then we can be normal. But I want these arts communities to just figure out this virtual way of doing things a little bit longer. So we're not killing off artists trying to get back to work.
Yeah, for real, and I can concur with that opinion because it makes more sense to err on the side of caution, and let's say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Got to keep putting them ounces out there,
I really feel like we should just figure out how to master this virtual world, because I've seen too many things happening, virtually. It takes me back to the beginning of this pandemic where Saturday Night Live, all of the actors were in their own homes.
Yeah.
Things looked a little cheesy, but a little bit more effort, and it started to look good, and I think people got used to this. I'm afraid that we're just trying to push the envelope too fast, just so we can fill some seats.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, if everybody does what they're supposed to do, and tries to achieve a safe environment, then you shouldn't have a great degree of difficulty. Now, it's like with everything else, there's going to be your fair share of naysayers, but
Right.
you just gotta, if you're a producer, you gotta put your foot down and say, well, look, we're gonna do it this way.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be involved, I thank you, and we can talk at a different time.
Yeah.
And don't make any excuses for their behavior. You just go on to the next one.
Yeah. It's ways to get around it, but I don't want people cutting corners for the sake of being on film or doing things. Because a lot of movies got made during this year, and you can definitely tell the difference. But again, this is going to be a lapse in time, and we're going to keep going on like this if we don't sit still and figure out a creative way of working. I hate doing the show from home, but I would rather do it from home than one of us get each other sick or get the other one sick, or somebody gets sick as a result of doing a radio interview. But you got to figure out ways to kind of get around it. But as we close out the show, we only got 10 more minutes left. What shows do you have coming up? I know you were on a couple of web series, but tell us some shows you have coming up.
Okay, well, main one coming out is going to be The Unwilling, and
can you tell us a little bit about what that's about?
Okay, it's about a group of former inmates. They, for their various crimes, wound up in jail, and now that they have been released back into society, they sought out a therapist to clear the air about their problems and to discuss how they're being received by their families and their loved ones and society in general, and being trying to be better human beings and not revert back to their old ways, and then finding trust with family members, trust with workers, that sort of thing. It's a very deep subject that a lot of folks don't visit because, well, for one thing, therapy sometimes in the Black community is a curse word. I don't need no therapy. I don't know what you're talking about, but to show people that have gotten past that and are trying to make a difference in their lives so that they can function better in society. So that's basically what that story is about. And as far as any other projects are concerned, mostly everything that was like filmed in the Love Star Regiment is coming out on different platforms. A film that myself and Mr. Chapman are involved in called Finding Desmond is coming out on Roku and Tubi, and it's already out on Tubi and Yumo, and streaming on a couple of other platforms where he plays a rather amiable homeless person, and he does a good job of it too. I've seen him get quarters and nickels off of people just standing on a corner, and they just give him change, So he's already got that. It's got that vibe going.
Pulling from reality. I get you.
And like I said earlier, Hustle the series, and then another movie called Redemption, which is being circulated right now, and it's getting some heat. It's on most popular in Yumo and Tubi and a couple other platforms. That there's so many names out there. I had to get up on my technology there, Nate. I really do.
But I love all of these streaming networks because it's giving regular working actors and technicians an opportunity to get their work seen. I got rid of cable, and all I have are a collection of streaming sites that equal up to a cable bill. So I really ain't saved no money, but I'm now able to watch all of these different shows and all of these different platforms where, before you were just a slave to what came on cable. But now there are other opportunities, and they're not just on YouTube. There are other platforms now. So I'm loving the diversity that we're getting to see now. Even if Hollywood doesn't see us, we still get a chance.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a quick story about when they switched from cable to network. And that was like back in the mid-90s. And they had finally rerun my lowly 2 episodes of Homicide: Life on the Streets, where I was the medical examiner. And the first one ran, and I got my royalty check for it being repeated on network TV, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm ready now, you know. And then the next episode, it didn't come on because NBC preempted the regular programming for the Olympics.
Mm.
And Lifetime bought Homicide: Life on the Streets. So it went from network money to cable money.
Mm.
And I went from like a $300 residual check to a $16.92 residual check for cable. For cable.
People thought cable would help the actor out because again there were more channels other than network, but it really, you know, supply and demand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did it switch over?
Yeah, well, it's back now. You see me?
Okay. Yeah, I can see you now.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely, you know, so as we close out, I normally ask all of my guests a question. And that question is, what advice would you give to your 17-year-old self? And what question would you ask to your 100-year-old self?
Okay. The advice I would give to my 17-year-old self would be go to the University of Maryland. I went to North Carolina Central. Okay. I think
so that means you were hungry a couple times. That's what that meant.
And I think it was the attraction of being further away from home that set me down to North Carolina. Around about that time, people like Bob Smith from it's with the Griot Circle now, but at that time he was with Evening Magazine.
Okay.
Just after that, when I got finished with school. And the question that I would ask my 100-year-old self would be, is there any reason why you're in the back part of the nursing home and not up near the front? Did you want your privacy, or were you raising too much hell and they stuck you back here in the corner?
I think it was the latter. I definitely think it was the latter. But I always tell people to ask themselves that question just randomly. It really depends on where you are to what answer you'll give. And it's not anything good or bad. It's just, it tells you where you are. The advice you give versus the question you ask tells a lot about where you are mentally and physically in life. So when we ask ourselves that question, it gives us a good kind of projection or information on where we are perspective-wise in the moment. But thank you, Archie, for coming on. Here's one. So I'm gonna ask you to close out with a dad joke as I close the show out, because I've never come in contact with Archie one time without hearing one of his famous jokes. I've even watched him audition with one of the jokes before, but it's a weird thing. But I'm glad that you got to come on. Tell Tyrone to get his shit together because he's coming back on as well. He gonna get the invitation soon. Along with Miss Dawn and all his, the whole family, because they all are talented individuals.
Yeah, they like a cottage industry. That's what they are. It's a cottage industry. You look around, there's a Chapman. You find them at Michael's. You find them at the Waxter Center. You'll find them selling soap on the corner. Anything to make $1 out of 50 cents.
Anything.
Yeah, that's right.
Worker family. They could be the New Jacksons. They be working.
Oh yeah. They sure are. They sure are. And speaking of, a horse goes into a bar, and the bartender looks at him and says, "Why the long face?"
And that's Archie. If y'all don't know, his IG and Facebook account is below on the screen. So definitely check him out on Instagram, on Facebook. Harass him. He likes to be harassed. He likes to have conversations. So hit him up because he's gonna talk back to you. He's gonna talk back. So this has been another edition of the Artist Exchange Radio Show on BeExposedRadio.com. If you want to be a guest, hit me up. The Artist Exchange Radio Show at gmail.com. Also, if you're looking for a space to start a show, bring your existing show, or if you have a show idea that you want to get up and running, Big Exposed Radio is definitely the space for you. As you see, we're all virtual, so you can be in your home and your guests can be in their home, and we can still make it work and make it look real professional for you. So hit us up at info@BigExposedRadio.com, and in the subject line say, "Nate, I want a show," and we will be on it. And look forward to more interesting, crazy, zany artists in the months to come. We're not going anywhere. Hopefully, you're not going to go anywhere. Continue to like, share, and subscribe to Big Exposed Radio's YouTube page. And if you saw that Cash App on the left-hand side of the screen, I hope you saw that. So we need you to support. So give a $1. We like with jingles, but we prefer with folds. And we take credit cards as well. So don't be opposed. But this has been another edition of the Artist Exchange Radio Show. See you all later. Thank you, Mr. Archie.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Take care and have a blessed evening.
See you later, sir. See you later. And thank you, Tyrone, for helping him out. Thank you, Tyrone.
Thanks. You got it, brother.
I had to show him there just to make him happy.
He needed a spotlight. So next up is the Cocktail Social with Blue Waters. He's back this week and all of the socialites. So peace out. That's it. And Monty don't beat nobody up. I'm just say that. Everybody say a prayer for Monty so he don't beat nobody up on Monday.